Call. Who is? No entire missing?
I don't recall at the last meeting if I think we held off on voting for a chairman and a vice chairman, and it's not on the agenda for tonight, so we'll do it at the next meeting. But we don't have a lot of time this evening, which I think for some of you that's good. So you can get home, and I think there's a football game on tonight, so.
Well, let's pledge the allegiance anyways.
I'm gonna unfortunately, I'm gonna have to make ET sit through this one more time, but I'm gonna try to be quicker with it. Juan, if you could go to the first page. This is
Steve?
just a
Steve, let's open with the pledge of
sorry.
allegiance.
oh, okay.
Anyways,
Okay.
yeah, and swearing in.
Let's do that at the end of the meeting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you want to do that and then have him sign the paper?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Probably the most important part. Get you sworn in.
Do y'all want to all stand up together? So I can do the swearing in?
Is this your first meeting? Yeah.
Where's the camera?
You all want us? Sure.
No, it's facing you guys.
Like where Steve is at? Okay.
Do you want me to move?
I'm gonna give you all these, I gave them to them last time, just so that y'all can kind of. And they're not, we're gonna do this one first. and then the second.
Okay, guys, whenever y'all are ready, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Juan Moreno Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly
that I have not directly or indirectly
paid, offered, promised to pay,
paid, offered, or promised to pay,
contributed, or promised to contribute
contributed, or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote
for the giving or withholding of a vote
at the election at which I was elected,
at the election of which I was elected,
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation.
or as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation,
Whichever the case may be,
whichever the case may be,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Next. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Juan Moreno Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of City of Cotulla Charter Commission
Of the
of
office of City of Cotulla Charter Commission
of the State of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
So that's taken care of. If we could, ET, if you could just read that item number 5 on there.
Workshop meeting. The Charter Commission will conduct a workshop meeting to discuss and work on the proposed home rule charter for the City of Cotulla. The Charter Commission will accept public input and provide an opportunity for citizens attending the meeting to be heard.
Okay. So before we get into that, so some of you are familiar with a workshop meeting, which is basically what it sounds like. You're not going to approve anything tonight. You're just going to be, it's kind of an open discussion, which you can't normally do at a meeting because you have to have a specific agenda item if you're going to take action on it. But I want to go through this again, and I apologize in advance to anybody who's had to listen to this from me before, but there are people here who have not heard this, so I just want to go real quickly through it. This is a PowerPoint, basically talking about what we're doing here. Two major forms of government: home rule, general law. Why do cities become home rule? You can go to the next slide. You know, they consider, often choose to become home rule. It allows a greater flexibility to the extent provided by law. You can kind of tailor the government you want to the citizens' desires. The citizens actually have to approve the home rule charter. So basically, you can contain whatever lawful provisions the citizens desire. Go to the next slide. Okay, so home rule city, it's self-government. It derives its authority from state law, state constitution, Voting Rights Act, federal constitution, federal law. The difference between home rule and general law is that the general law cities are required to get their authorities from state laws. Home rules cities look to the general law for limitations on their power. And there's kind of an example that's a little outrageous, but gets the point. City charter could not legalize the sale of marijuana in the city because it's not permitted under state law, or authorize a casino. You know, even though you have a right of home rule, there are limits on what you can do. So let's go to the next one. General law A has a mayor, 5 council member who serve 2-year terms. If you have a vacancy, typically if it's in the second year of the vacancy, you appoint it to the end of that term. If it's in the first year, they usually have to stand election at some point before the term ends. State law controls how you appoint and remove elected officials. Go to the next one. Here we go. Removals of council members, mayor. There's something called recall and initiative, which you cannot do under general law. If you've got somebody bad in there, unless you can remove them under a state law provision, you can't have a vote to get them out of office. Council can petition for removal for incompetency, corruption, misconduct, or malfeasance. A district judge decides. Go to the next one. General A, remove any officer, 2/3 vote. Appointed city officers, they're listed, and you can follow along, read this at your leisure. Council may remove, and it goes through that. Next one. The home rule city process. Okay, so that's why we're here. Authorized under Article 9, Section 5 of the Texas Constitution. City must have a population of 5,000 or more to become home rule city. Citizens must vote to become a home rule city by voting for a charter. Cities may determine their own population if the census does not exceed 5,000. The city of Cotulla declared its own population a few years ago as 7,480. That was based on the municipal water connections and the requirements, certain regulatory requirements of the TCEQ. We are going to do that again, but I did talk to Jimmy, the utility director, and he said we've got about the same number of connections. I think he said about 1,500 of them are in the city, and I think TCEQ counts 4 people per household. So that puts you over the 5,000 right there. Okay, so next one. That counts oil field and the whole bit. You don't have to be a permanent resident. You just got to be here, you know, when they're counting. Process for adoption. You select a charter commission. Council may appoint the commission. That's what they've done here. Last one, very important. The commission prepares a charter for submission to the city council and in a general election. So the document that you will give to the city council, hopefully sometime next month, the city council does this or they do this. They can't say, well, we don't like this and we're gonna change it and then we'll approve it. No. You do that, you gotta either go back to the drawing board, dissolve the commission, or send them back to the drawing board. They come back with a different one. The council can't take your charter and say, well, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, and we're gonna have an election. That's not how it works. It's either yes or no. It's all or nothing. So next one. Charter Commission duties, form of government, strong mayor, council manager, powers of the city, council terms. You can actually have longer terms. You can pay your council. You can actually do that in a general law. Some cities do. They don't pay them much, but they give them a little something. Powers of the council, powers of the mayor. Next one. Okay. I think we might have skipped. Okay. I think we're a little ahead. We just need to go back to, what page were we on? Page 12? One back.
Remote's acting up.
All right, so the charter drafting considerations, which is not up there, but you have it in your book. How do you remove council members? How do you fill vacancies? How many council members do you want? You can have more than 5. Can the mayor vote? What are the duties of city manager? Investigative authorities, annexation elections, who is the budget
forward.
officer?
Go forward one. Forward.
You know what? We'll just go there because, like I said, you can read along. Commission.
Here, yeah.
Okay. We already did that one. We need to go forward. Duties. Keep going forward.
Okay.
Those are what we just talked about. Let's go to the next one. Considerations. Again, you can read along at your leisure. If anybody wants a copy of this PowerPoint, we can provide those to the public if they want them. Referendums, initiatives, recall, commissions. You got to have a planning and zoning commission in a home rule. We have a planning and zoning commission in a general law. The council can actually be your P&Z, and we are. And in fact, we're taking action on a zoning thing tonight. Budget process, removal of officers, creation of city departments, civil service. Scratch that one. That typically is police and fire, which we don't have. Conflicts of interest. We do have a ethics provision in our code of ordinances. It's kind of weak. You could make that stronger. You could make, you could require things that are beyond what state law requires. Let's go to the next one. Once charter is finalized, commission votes to forward. So you vote. You voted out of here. Council votes to place the matter on the ballot, or they vote not to. I think the idea now is we'd like to get it done in May. We've got to get an order passed, I believe, by February 17th. So, you actually have a lot of time. Because I talked to one of my law partners that does a lot of this, and he said usually 60, 90 days, the commission exists. Every registered voter must be mailed a copy of the proposed charter at least 30 days before the election. So what we're going to do is create a little pamphlet, and we'll mail them out, or we'll do something. So we're going to get them out. State law, states commission shall prepare a charter so that to the extent practicable, each subject must be voted on separately. That's not done ever. It's yes, you want the charter, or no, you don't want the charter. Okay, so let's go to the next one. If it's adopted, it may only be amended by the vote of the citizens. The charter prepared by the commission shall be submitted to the qualified voters at election on the first authorized uniform election day. So if you vote this out of here, it's got to go in May, okay? Because that's the first uniform election day. We can't say, well, we need more time to get the word out. No, if it gets out of here in time for the next election by February 17th, it's got to be on the ballot in May, or you got to start over again. Okay, let's go to the next one. City will conduct municipal elections on May 6, 2023. It's the council's intention to submit the charter to the voters at the election. To do so, the charter must be approved by the council no later than February 9th, as the election must be ordered by February 17th. So the order by the 23rd. And I think February 9th is the meeting, the council meeting. You could have another meeting. Governing body shall provide for the submission. Okay, just go to the next one. What's the next one? Charter Commission develops a draft charter, invite public and community leaders to provide input, approve charter. Council may approve charter, not required to. Voters must receive a copy. Election is held to approve or reject it. Yes or no? Very simple. Role of your role. Okay, public's representative to reflect their desired form of municipal government, to submit to the voters. You've been picked by the mayor and the council because we think that you all are a good cross section of the population of the city. And obviously I know all of you. I just met one tonight. But you are people who are invested in the community, and you talk to other people. Council either approves or rejects a charter. If rejected, the city council cannot substitute its charter for that of the commission. We can't change it. Role of the commission. If the charter submitted by the commission is rejected, the commissioners may go back and draft a revised charter. The city council may dissolve the commission and appoint a new one. The city council may make its feelings known as to what it would like in a charter, but it cannot dictate its terms. Why do we have a commission? State law creates an independent commission with more than advisory powers. It's tasked with drafting a proposed charter and presenting it to city council for approval or rejection. Commissioners can discuss the matter with the public. Meetings are open. Public input should be solicited. The city council has entrusted the commissioners to represent the public interest. The charter commission is selected to bring their unique perspectives, knowledge, and experience within the local community to represent the interests of the general public. Voters have the final say on the charter, as it should be. And there you can call me if you have any questions. So we will move on real quickly. You all have a copy of the draft charter in front of you, and I think probably at the next meeting we may try to get this where we can put it up there and talk about it. But what I did and what I prepared probably a couple of months ago was a charter for your consideration. This has no precedence at all. You can say this is the worst thing I've ever seen and come back with some other document that you would like to have. But what this does is it basically breaks up, it creates a government very similar to the government you already have, which is a type A government. So if the idea is to do something that will appeal to the public, because ultimately they have to say yes or no, if you give them something that's familiar, they at least understand it. They know, those that take an interest in local government, and not everybody does, that you have a mayor and that you have 5 council members, and we have a place system, and we would continue to have a place system. We would continue to have annual elections just like we have right now. You would have 2-year terms, so you have staggered people up for election all the time. I think that's something that the city's very comfortable with. I think that having a longer term creates some challenges that are not insurmountable. I'm not sure why you would want longer terms. Even our congressmen in the federal Congress serve 2-year terms. So they're held accountable. From the day that you're in office, you basically are aware that you have a short period of time to learn the process, to contribute before you've got to be reelected again if you want to continue to serve. Over time, in the many years that I've been doing this, I've experienced different council members, different mayors come in through the process, and at the beginning not really knowing a whole lot. Usually within a term or two they're pretty good at it. They've learned the process, they've learned what an open meeting is, they've learned whatever rudimentary parliamentary skills they need to make motions and amend the motions and to have votes and to do all those things to conduct an open meeting. There was a time when I think people looked at things like term limits. I think that would not be a good idea in a city like Cotulla, and the draft charter does not propose that, because you've got a limited number of people here that are even willing to do the job. So, I think the idea was initially that with term limits, that somehow you wouldn't have people making serving in an office for 20 or 30 years like they tend to do, not necessarily in local government, but in other forms of government where they're in their long periods of time. What we have seen, or what I have seen, and what Mr. Dovalina, who I'd actually like to invite to come up here and join the meeting with us, is that you guys got to learn this stuff, right? The city is very good about attending TML conferences. Texas is one of the states that provides a lot of material for you all to read. There's a how to do it book on just about everything. And we have been very fortunate here with the city of Cotulla that our council members do go to these TML conferences. They do sit there and listen to what's going on. And we've got some very skilled people. For example, the last meeting we had, the mayor couldn't talk very good because he had something going on. So Mr. Lopez ran the meeting. Well, he knew what he was doing. I mean, he's been to them, and he's been mayor pro tem before. And it's good to see that the knowledge is spread around the council members, so that you have individuals that are capable of filling in, doing the job that they need to do. But I think continuing education, in my opinion, is extremely valuable. Cotulla has really moved into the 21st century. I mean, look at the meeting we're having tonight. Look at all this stuff. I mean, this would have been unheard of 20 years ago. So I think that more transparency, openness, having the ability for somebody, and there may be people at home watching this meeting right now, and have an ability to participate and at least know what's going on if they choose to do so. So I think, having dedicated public servants, people who, you don't do this job for the pay. If you're a council member, you're not getting anything. You might get a trip or two out of it, but you get the ability to go out and represent your city. So I think those are things that, this charter kind of represents that line of thinking, that we do want to build institutional knowledge and we don't want to get rid of people. And I just don't think it's a good idea. It hadn't really worked very well in even other cities, although I think some cities do have. I think San Antonio has it, by the way. I think they do have term limits. If you've got a 2-year, if you get somebody you don't like too much, well, you're only stuck with them for 2 years, right? And you get to vote them out. You get to have somebody come in if they want to challenge them. They're, all municipal elections, for those that you don't know, are nonpartisan. So there's no Democrats, there's no Republicans, there's no primaries. You just go run. And if you're qualified to file for office and you meet the filing requirements, you get into office, and that's across the state. So I think that's one of the unique things about municipal government. is that the issues that confront the city, they really shouldn't be partisan issues. You know, what does the city of Cotulla do? Well, it has a really good utilities department. We're really good at providing water. We're really good at providing sewer. We're really good at providing gas. We fixed our roads finally. We've upgraded our infrastructure. We spent a ton of money doing that over the year. A lot of that was federal money, you know, grants. We've done a tremendous job with the infrastructure in the city. You know, you're sitting out here in a product of a very forward-thinking council and the current city manager who took basically a rundown shell of a building, even at the time when we weren't necessarily guaranteed a lot of tax revenue, and took the risk to come out here and really create something that's useful to the community. And you know, you look around here, we have 23 hotels in this city. I believe that's the correct number. All of those pay a hotel occupancy tax for people staying more than 30 days. The city receives lots of money in hotel occupancy taxes. It has used that money to create many forms of new construction. We've built the city hall. We've got the bank building, the old Stockman's Bank building. The parks have gotten much better. You've got the Main Street program going on, all of these things. So these are all positive things, and I think everybody here that's participating in this is interested in continuing with that. So if we look at the actual charter, if you turn to page number 1, it basically outlines the form of the government. And right there on line 1 of page 1, it says that the government provided by this charter shall be known as a type A form of government. That's what you have right now, okay? Basically, that type A government, even though it is a type A government, that's the structure. It has all the rights of self-governance and all the rights to do things that are prescribed by your charter, even though the actual composition, you're going to have 5 council members by place. You'll have a mayor who does not vote. Now you could say, well, we want the mayor to vote. Okay, well, you know, you can do that. You know, I'm not sure that the mayor wants to vote. I don't know. Pablo, you were mayor for a while. Did you want to vote when you were mayor?
Well, I had to.
To break ties,
Several
right?
times, yeah, to break the tie.
Right. So the mayor is really your figurehead. He's the strong mayor. She's a strong mayor. Whoever the mayor is, they set the agenda. They provide the direction for the city, you know. But they're kind of like, hey, you're my team. I'm the coach. You know, I intervene when I have to. You know, so you don't get into the voting part of it as much. I don't think it's necessary. It's a possibility. You could do it if you wanted to. You know, if you go back and Juan, you said you had read all about this. There's lots of stuff in TML about them. You know, if you say, hey, you know, I like this idea, well, great. Let me know. You know, we'll look at it. And you know, we think that, or at least I think that the system works pretty well as it is. I don't know if you all have opinions on how things are done now, or if you think there's a better way to do it, or if you've had experience somewhere else and you've seen a better way that it's done. I don't know. Those are all things that need to be brought up. So
There was a big controversy in voting for this tax, hotel motel. I think there was a tie. Tani's, I think, was the one that helped
the hotel occupancy,
Yeah.
I think we get what, $8 a night now, Larry?
Oh,
We raised it.
725.
No, but the tax after the tax per room, the hot tax. We put it at the highest level that we could. I think it's.
We went up 100%.
So all of the things that you see that are pretty in this city, and there are a lot of them, that's where the money came from. the Plaza Florita project, which has really been something that's been in the process for a long time. That's near and dear to a lot of people in this city. That was a historic park that fell into states of disrepair over the years, basically because there was no money to really keep it going. Now the city has acquired some land around it. We've got some historic designations. I know there's a statue of Florita Maltzberger that's going to be put there. We've got LBJ's across the street at the old Wellhausen School, which I know I went there. I know you did. I know Pablo did. Who else here? I don't know, but so those are things that have been celebrated in the city. And
It's actually now a historic square that includes a building and the plaza.
right. So Guadalupe Hall is another thing that should be under contract here fairly soon with the Diocese of Laredo. Very important to the citizens of Cotulla, not necessarily that important to the Diocese of Laredo, and it's something that needs to be preserved because there's a lot of history there. That whole area is historic. I was there when they did the LBJ thing, and that was great. You saw lots of people that came to see that, to our little town. Anyway, continuing with this, if you look at this page 1, talks about boundaries, annexations. This is all stuff that's in Chapter 43 of the Local Government Code. The city currently has a 1-mile ETJ, which means that we can annex land that's contiguous to the city, that's within 1 mile around the city. We can't go a mile and an inch. We can only go a mile. One of the things that we're looking at with annexation is payments in lieu of taxes. Now, the state legislature has really reined in the abilities of cities to do involuntary annexations, and it's not as easy as it used to be. And honestly, this is something that cities typically want to do because you have people who are receiving city services but are not paying city taxes. Now, all these commercial areas around here, they don't come in unless they agree to the annexation. You want water? Okay, you got to be annexed. You want all these things. That's why all these hotels here, they're all in the city limits. Every one of them. And every one of them is paying taxes. That's why the Flying J, the McDonald's, the Loves, coming up on the south side, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially, that will come into the city coffers in unrestricted funds. So that money that goes in the general fund. And that's your sales tax. So if we go to page number 3, it talks about local self-government. Basically, the first line says, hey, anything in the Constitution, laws of the state, are granted, which we have already. Eminent domain, not something we use very often here. It has been used. They cleaned up that mess on Mustang Creek, which was horrible. You had people building in floodways and doing things. I believe,
There's one property there.
we revised the flood map. Did they do a Lomar letter of map correction?
We're waiting for FEMA to give us a new map. And we took 500 properties out of the floodplain.
So that is money in people's pockets potentially. If you have a mortgage on a home that's within the floodplain, your mortgage company could make you carry federal flood insurance.
They do.
And so by removing that saves people money, which of course is a very important thing in any city, but in Cotulla in particular. It's not a high median income. There are, it's going up, I think. I actually don't know what the stats are now, but there are a lot more jobs here. So these are little things that are not very front page news kinds of things, but these are things that have been accomplished over the years through the use of municipal powers.
Steve, it's about 5 till 7,
Okay.
and I think we read all this at home and discuss the other things, additional things, next time we meet.
Yes, sir. I would like, if you could, when you go home and we prepare for our next meeting, which, by the way, I'm not sure when that's going to be. I'd like to get one more in this year if we can. I'd like you all to go through. It's not a particularly long document. It's about 30 something pages. Take a look at it. Write down your questions. Write down your notes. I think that when we have these meetings, we're going to continue to have what we call workshop meetings, so that there's kind of a general discussion. Everybody can kind of chime in. And actually, I would like to be at the next meeting, but I'm not sure that I always need to be here. You know, I think this may be something where you guys want to sit with the city staff, go through this, and kind of dive into these things in particular.
I think there'll just be several areas where we're wondering why you did it the way you did it in your draft.
Right.
When we get the understanding of why, then we'll be ready to go ahead.
Absolutely. So I've provided my contact information, phone number. If you've got questions, you can send them to me. You can talk to Mr. Dovalina, who's an expert on this stuff. It is something that may be a little out there for some people, but it's really not that hard to understand what you're doing. Basically, you're trying to create a government that has as much flexibility as you're willing to give it. And, you know, that's your job. Your job's not to implement it. Your job's not to do anything. Your job's to say, here you go, we did our job.
Can the city provide us a list of all the members with their contact phone numbers
Sure,
for
Yes.
each of us?
sure.
So we can talk about it any time we want, right?
Well, no, you can't.
You're subject to the.
Right. So
meetings
we consider this to be something that's open to open meetings laws.
One-on-one with any, I mean, just
that you
not as a
can't-
group.
You can't do anything to subvert the Open Meetings Act.
Right.
Or if it attempts to do that by meeting on an individual basis, you run afoul of the law.
Right. Believe me, it's been tried. Not here. But
I've seen guys go to jail for it.
I'm not sure that maybe meeting at City Hall, you know, could be done. You know, there's a conference room in there. It doesn't have to be a long meeting.
We can do that.
You know, and I think honestly, I think I've done what I need to do. I'd rather just say, hey, you know, you got a question, you ask me. Mr. Dovalina could teach this stuff. You know, he could teach a course on this. So I think you've got a good resource. We just need to get these posted. I know Mr. Gonzalez works. I know ET works. I know Mr. Moreno works. I don't know what your schedule is.
24/7.
Okay.
I just want to try
Okay.
to get us together again at the earliest possible date.
You can do it next
We
week
can-
if you want, and if you do it at City Hall, you might be more relaxed because it's a smaller room.
Yeah, I
Are
think
y'all okay with doing it next week for the first?
I'm good with that.
Next.
Yeah.
we have to have 72 hours notice, but other than
That's
that,
right.
that's all you got to do.
Post on Monday.
And so I think what I would like to do, and I'm fortunate to have Mr. Dovalina as a resource, I just want to kind of step back from it, let you guys go through it, let you decide what you want to do. There are reading materials out there. I don't know that you need to read all that stuff. You know, you can go look at other cities. Look at the city of Hondo. Look at the city of Pearsall. They've got them. Carrizo Springs has them. Look at their charters. What you're going to find on some of the older ones is they're kind of archaic. They're old. The city of Alice has one. I had to deal with them as a third party dealing with them. I don't think anybody's ever looked at that charter since it was passed. I mean, it's so old, you know, you can tell just by the way it reads, you know. So I'm going to cut it short here. I'll let Larry wrap it up if
Well,
he's
San
done anything.
Antonio and Laredo both have charters. They update every 10 years, and
They're not bad to look at,
they're up to date.
but to me, San Antonio and Laredo are way too big to be looking at. You know, I think you want to look at cities that are more similar to Cotulla and kind of see what they're doing. I think Hondo's got a good one, Pearsall, and they're relatively new. I don't know if Divine has a charter or not. I'm not sure if they're home built. I don't think Casterville is. I think Casterville is a General A type A. So
I'd like to pick a day we could get together next week that Larry is available. And does it have to be an evening meeting or daytime or?
Because some people work.
I get off at 6.
A week from
6:15,
a week
fine.
from a week from today. At the
I'm
same
good
time.
with that.
A week from today? So you have to post Monday.
Next Thursday, at what time?
6:15,
They're at the City Hall.
City Hall.
Conference room.
Okay.
Is that okay?
it will be an open meeting. People can go sit in there if they want to.
Just a workshop to ask questions about what we've read and don't, you know.
I
answers
think
to-
all your meetings should be workshop meetings until we get to the point
Yeah.
where we need to approve something.
I'm open for adjournment.
Can I ask a question, please, since it's public comment?
Yes, ma'am.
On the agenda? What is the reason for the rush of trying to get the charter passed? Why is it such a rush when you haven't even allowed for citizen input just yet?
The idea is to get it on the next uniform election date. And in
Okay.
order to do that, you've got
So,
cutoffs by the Secretary of State.
December and January will be the only time that will allow for public input and
Probably, yes.
is that appropriate? I mean, you know, if it's a citizen charter and you want to be able to get the citizen input, wouldn't it be appropriate to give the citizens sufficient time to be able, I mean, I don't think anyone's even looked at the draft just yet. Maybe putting it on the website for people to start looking at it,
We
see
can
what's
do
in
that.
there, to be able to ask questions.
We can do
Absolutely.
that.
I think that's a policy question. I think there were some issues with getting the actual commission constituted. And it may be that it doesn't get it done in May. I don't know. That's up to the council. They can say, you know what? You're right. We shouldn't do it in May. Let's do it in November.
And I'm just saying, because to be able to allow for the citizen input, you know.
Right.
The people who may have comments, this is something totally different. It's how they want their city to be governed. So how they want their city to be governed as opposed to the general type A city is going to be different. Now, if it's very similar, then what would be the reason for going into a charter if it's similar to type A general law?
Because it gives you more,
It gives you more
flexibility. It gives you,
So
it changes.
what type of power are we looking for?
Some of the annexation powers are different. There are different types of, as Larry said, payments in lieu of taxes, things of that sort. But, you know, we actually approved the commission a few years ago, and then we had COVID, and then we had, you know, there just wasn't the political will to do it at that time.
And that's what seems kind of, you know, trying to rush it, you know, doesn't really look good to try to rush it.
Well, we've been at it since November.
I'm sorry?
We've been at it since November, and I actually sat down and talked to one of my partners, and he said, hey, some commissions only exist for 90 days.
I
You know.
understand, but if this is a citizens charter that the citizens are going to approve, and they should have the input into it, because that's saying how they intend to have their government run, then we want that at face value of what it, you know, we want them to be able to give their input, to be able to do that, not just a commission that's been put together last minute and have it passed in a month or two.
Well, you know, those are policy decisions, and ultimately that
And I'm just
determines.
saying, 'cause I was here at the last meeting, and and still, we haven't, I know we haven't gone through the full agenda, didn't get a chance to get public input this time, so then you're going back to go ahead and get into another meeting at this time. So it's just a reminder of, it's a citizen charter, it's what they intend to pass. And they
Absolutely.
have the right to put their input and to see what you intend to present to the city council for approval.
Well, whatever gets presented to the city council will be done at an open meeting. And all of these meetings are open.
And understand
We need to
that,
adjourn.
I'm sitting here, I haven't seen a draft, I mean,
We need
again,
to
taking those
adjourn
necessary steps
for
to
the-
at least present it beforehand, not trying to pass it in a 2-month span, and letting the people see what it is that you intend to pass.
Well, they're,
We need to adjourn, though. We're
Okay.
past our time.
yes, sir.
So
Well,
move.
if
So
Larry,
moved. We got a motion to adjourn. Got a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
I think we can put it on the
Is that-
website.
It's adjourned.
We can.